In 1988, I believe it was 88, it could have been 89, I was stationed at Simbach Air Force Base. There was a Air Force Base 20 minutes away called Ramstein Air Base. It's the headquarters for the Air Force in Europe. They had an annual air show, the Flugtag something something in German, every year, and it always attracted around 100,000 people. So it was like the thing to do, for sure you had to go. So it was me, my ex-wife, and 7 other friends. 9 of us went together to the air show. We went early to get set up at a great spot. Where we ended up setting up was at the backside of a refrigerator truck. So if anyone's been to Germany, the German beer that you buy is all bottled. They don't have cans, or at least they didn't in the 80s. And the crates that these bottles come in are like the old-fashioned milk crates. They're big. So all day long as the air show is going on, they're stacking up these milk crates next to this refrigerator truck. When the stack is high, it's the end of the day. There's one more Italian team to come in and do this heart formation thing that an earlier team had done. I want to leave because I want to beat the crowd. My friends want to stay because they want to see this last group, so we stay. I'm standing on the ground. My wife's feet, she's sitting on top of the stack. I'm standing, and I'm only 5'10", but her feet were about here, so she was a good 10, 11 feet above the ground. The Italian team flies in. They mention on the speaker that they're going to do this heart formation. So I turn around. As I turn around, the planes, 4 or 5 planes go this way, 4 this way. They make a heart with smoke. One plane goes this way and then shoots the heart. Well, that plane came and it crashed into 2 other planes. And as I turn around, all I see is, I think it's part of the show. It's this massive fireball, and it's about 200 yards in front of me, about 100 feet off the ground. And I think it's part of the show because it's a flash, and I'm like, wow. But everything, I don't know if anybody's been in a wreck. I can relate it to a car wreck I've had recently. Everything goes slow motion. And so everything was dead silent. I couldn't hear anything. Slow motion. Out of the fireball, the plane that was coming towards the crowd was at a diagonal and spinning like this, coming right at me. And I just remember going, holy crap, this thing's going to hit me. And I turn to run around the edge of the beer crates, totally forget my wife and leave her. When I hit the edge of the milk crates, the thing hit the ground. There was a 600-800 foot ball of fire that threw me past the beer tent we were behind. Threw me a good 30, 40 feet, the explosion. And I was laying on the ground, not thinking I was going to die, not, hoping I wasn't going to die. I knew I was going to die at that split second. I remember tensing up, putting my hands on my head, tensing up, and just thinking, I hope it doesn't hurt. And I'm laying like this for what I think is an hour, and then I realize, wait a minute, I'm not dead, but I'm definitely on fire because it was so hot. So I get up to run, again, totally forgetting about my friends and my wife. I trip over a tent wire and I face plant. And I scrape my whole face up. It's kind of funny. I think it's funny. I lost my nipples. When I hit the ground, when it threw me, they grew back, in case you're wondering. Everything's fine there. But I look like a bloody mess. I'm blood from head to toe. I'm dirt. I didn't have a shirt on. It was a hot day. And I start running and thinking I'm on fire. And then I had this moment of clarity. I'm like, shit, my friends and my wife. I stop to turn around and run back to find them. And my wife runs me over. And she's right on my tail. But she used to have hair to the small of her back, almost to her butt. That was now singed up to her skull. It burnt all the hair off the back of her body. She had second, third degree burns on the backside of her body from a flash, which is just the heat from the fire, not the actual fire. And we just stood there hugging each other, and then we couldn't breathe because of the jet fuel. It was black smoke everywhere. We couldn't breathe. We run. And then we kind of compose ourselves as much as we can. There's people running all over the place, all on fire. There's total mayhem. And I just remember the calmness of that moment because it was like I was in a movie. Like all these tragedies and movies that we've watched over a lifetime, in a weird way, kind of condition you for something like this. I need to get out of there, so my backpack has my keys, my wallet, everything. It's on top of that stack where my wife was. I go back to the backpack, and that plane, the fuselage of that plane, is embedded in the back of the truck, and it knocked down that stack where everybody was sitting. What's tragic, they say on the internet that 96 or 98 people died. I know for a fact it was way more than that, because everyone in front of us was dead, everyone on the sides and behind. The only reason no one in my group was killed was because of that truck. They all jumped off the back, 12, 15 feet off the ground, hit the ground, the plane hit the truck, and all the fireball went over them. So they were spared from the wreckage and the fire, it just went over them. So nobody in my group was killed, but yet everyone around us was killed. And we went back for my backpack, and my buddy and I were just like in shock. And the guy walks up to us like a stuntman. He was completely head to toe engulfed in flames. And if anybody's burnt onion paper in science class when you were in elementary school, you light it and it flickers up and just disappears. His skin was changing colors, orange and red and green, and flickering up. And he was as calm as I am right now. He said, "Wow, man, did you guys see that?" And my buddy grabs him and throws him down, and he just starts convulsing. I'm sure he didn't make it. But at that moment, I knew that when death is imminent for us, I'm a spiritual guy. I believe in God, and I talk to God all the time. And I knew at that moment, like, that guy was safe and protected. Like, we're watching him, what seems tragically, horrifyingly die by fire, but he has no clue that he's on fire. So that moment was a big pinnacle moment in my life of spirituality and tragedy. I've never experienced anything like that before, and certainly since, and I hope nobody ever does, but it was quite eye-opening and life-changing at the time.